Hey guys, in this video we're going to go through an endgame puzzle from chess.com. We have king and 2 pawns against king and 2 pawns, and I'm doing unrated training. This puzzle is rated somewhere between 2500 and 3000 chess.com puzzle rating. I have not seen this one before, so let's work through it together. Alright, so first let's rule out any moves that are obviously wrong, and we can always circle back if nothing else works. H4 looks incorrect because g takes h, and black will make a queen. Now the 3 most natural looking moves are bringing the king closer to the black pawns. So let's start with the one that kind of looks the most obvious, king to f6. If the black king goes backwards to h8 or to g8, we are going to go over, capture the h pawn, and then capture the g pawn. So let's say here, king g8, king g6. I'm wondering if there's a potential to push this up. No, it doesn't help black at all. So the king moves, take, king moves, take, and that'll be an easy win. And the line I was looking at is, could black play this, but we're going to take, and if king h7, we still take the other pawn. So that's winning. And then one thing to think about, so because of the way these puzzles are built, we have to think what's the difference between f7 and f6. But let's keep looking at this line. King f6. So we think both of these are losing for black. The only other move is pawn to h5. If king takes g5, pawn takes g4, and if we take back with the king, that's a draw because the rook pawn only is a draw. And if we take back with a pawn, black gets opposition and we don't have a free move with the pawn to regain opposition. And also the black king is not on the 8th rank. So that's going to be a draw. So that looks like the critical line. If here, pawn push. And if we take, pawn takes pawn. That looks to be a draw. Alright, so let's say king f6, pawn push. We take the h pawn. The king will come up. Now because we have 2 h pawns, unless there was some sort of trick where we're able to force black to push the g pawn and we take, that should also be a draw. Yeah, and I don't think there's going to be any tricks. That black king is going to keep marching to our pawn. So we shouldn't be able to win that. Alright, so I think king f6 is being refuted by pawn to h5. Alright, let's look at king f7. If king to h8, we know this is winning. Transposes to one of our lines previously. So after king f7, what if h5 again? Could we ignore h5? Because I don't think we can take. The black king is going to take and come get our h pawn. So can we ignore that? If king here, trying to take on g5, king here. So what I don't like is black can take on g4, and when we take back, they can give us this g pawn and get opposition in the end. Alright, so what else can we try? King to f8. h5. King to f7, h takes g. H takes g. Yeah, so the problem is black can give us this pawn again. And as soon as we take, black grabs opposition. So that also looks like a draw. I feel like, okay, so if the king moves away, I don't really see how that helps because h5 is going to be played. And this whole idea of trading and gaining opposition after we take this pawn looks to be an easy draw for black. So I don't think it makes any sense to move the king away, with maybe the exception of this square. So king e6, pawn h5. Yeah, this is also going to be a draw. Okay, so now I just thought of a new idea, and this is what tends to happen sometimes in these puzzles. You exhaust all the options that seem obvious, and then you get a new idea. When black plays h5, we should play h4. And if black takes this way, we push past. Push. And we want to have this with check, defended somewhere by our king, probably f7, because then we can get to the 3 squares to promote. This is the idea. Alright, well, I don't want to move it yet. So king f7, h5, h4. H takes g. We want to end up with this g pawn, so we take g3, g6 with check, very important. This king moves, g7, this pawn pushes, g8 queen. We're going to win this pawn and the game. So let's look at the other line here. We think h5 is the only draw attempt, h4. G takes h. So now black has 2 pawns on the h file. We push, h3. We push with check, king up. We push, h2. We queen, black queens. But we have queen to g6, checkmate. That was the closest line, though, to a draw. So let's just look at it one more time. Here, push, push, take, push, check. Going here up here doesn't make sense because we check again. So here, and we're about to queen, h2, queen, threatening mate, and there's a pawn right here for black. So this king is trapped. Black promotes. We have queen here, checkmate. All right, I'm feeling pretty confident in this. So let's try king f7. There's h5, good. We'll go h4. King h6. I did not calculate this. I should have looked at this. All right, so to me the answer is pretty obvious. I think it's going to be this because we want to go with the same idea. But let's stop and think. So king here. Right, I mean, any way we take with the pawns is a draw. Moving the king backwards doesn't make any sense. So it's got to be king here. It takes, check, back, check again, push. That should be an easy win. We're going to queen and mate. King here, take, take, pawn this way. Or sorry, king this way, push. Yeah, we're going to queen when that pawn comes to g2. We queen, and the king can't defend it. So now here, it's a small wrinkle, but really it doesn't take much calculation because king here, we come back, and we're still going to push. I feel like I'm going to say that and then it'll be wrong, but there is no way it can be g6 check because king goes to g8. And this transposed to the line we looked at. So we're going to queen. This king is trapped. Black promotes, and then we have mate. There we go. 26-16 puzzle rating. This was king and 2 pawns against king and 2 pawns. Let's look at it one more time. So we had to get this side opposition. And after h5, we play h4 with the idea of trying to promote a g pawn. And now we play king here. Push g, and now we have to make sure that that king can't get back to g8. And then we check, push again, and make our queen. Very nice puzzle. I like that one a lot. So let me know in the comments. I've had a comment that people would like to see more endgames. Let me know, do you like this format where we go through and work through the endgame together? I talk through all the thoughts. Or would you prefer an endgame format where maybe I know the answer and I just rattle off all the lines? What's your preference? Hearing my thoughts or just hearing kind of the answer and talking through the moves? And also just in general, are there any specific endgames you would like me to cover? Let me know in the comments below. Alright, so thanks for watching everyone. Hope you enjoyed this endgame video. I really like doing endgames. I think it's a great way to train calculation. Like you saw there were a couple lines that I didn't look at originally and I should have probably looked at just for completeness. And calculation is something that I want to improve in my own game. So doing these endgame puzzles is a great way to work on calculation. Alright, thanks for watching. Please give a thumbs up and subscribe if you're not a subscriber. And we'll see you in the next video.